Okay, welcome to Mishnah Mania Part 2. We're going to learn the Mesechta Megillah, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Zayin. So we're in the middle of the Ein Bains. There is no difference, and we learned there's no difference between Shabbat and Yom Tov, Shabbat and Yom Kippur, between different types of promises. And now we're moving into laws of Tuma and Tara, impurity and purity. So in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, people they had to be really careful if they were pure for eating holy items like truma and for korban and for going to the Beit HaMikdash. So there's an entire set of this entire seder of Mishnayot focused on the laws of Tuma and Tahara, Kachim and Tarot. We're going to learn a few halachot, two rules related to purity and ein bains. So ein bain, there is no difference between zav haroeh shtei re'iyot, a zav, a person sees tuma only twice in one day, to seeing it three times. What is the only difference? The difference is whether you have to bring a korban or not. So in both cases, you if there's two riyot, if you see twice, you have to wait 7 days. If you see a third time, then you also have to bring a korban in addition. The next ein bain mitzora muskar mitzora muchlat. So the Torah tells us about if somebody starts seeing something that looks like tzarat on their skin, so they have to go to the Kohen, and the Kohen then checks them out, and he decides whether they're tameh or tahor. So there's two possibilities when the Kohen checks them out. Well, the first possibility is that he's a mitzora muskar, that the mitzora, the leper, the one who has all these rashes on their skin, and he's not sure if it's the tameh kind, the impure kind, he has to stay in a room for a week to make sure. So he goes into quarantine, and he has to be locked up, meaning away from everybody else. Then because we don't know how it's going to develop. Now, there's another type of tzarat that the Kohen looks at it and he's like, it's bad. And he says, wow, you are tameh, and that's called a mitzora muchlat. There is a hachlata. There's a decision right away because it's really clear. So what's the difference? They both have to go in quarantine. Their quarantine rules are the same. The difference is priya ufrima, that a mitzora who is for sure a mitzora and a mitzora muchlat right away, he has to tear his clothing, he has to do priya, and he has to show his hair and grow out his hair, and it has to be, basically he's advertising to everybody, screaming that he's a mitzora and he's tamis, he has to rip his clothing, and that's only for a mitzora muchlat. The next ein bain, which is included in the previous one, what's the difference between tahor mitoch hesker lator mitoch echlat? So now the 7 days pass. The Kohen comes and checks the Kohen. Just checks the mitzora and says, "Wow, things have gotten much better. You're doing better." So the tahor mitoch hesker, the one who's doing better, he's pretty much free to go. Whereas the tahor mitoch echlet needs to take a haircut. Bring the birds, and on the seventh day, there's a whole process of becoming tahor, which is a lot more complicated than the one who is mitoch hesker. So again, they're the same as far as their quarantine, but they're different as far as the things that they have to do. That's the ein bain. So growing hair and tearing clothes, becoming tahor. Okay, now the next one, ein bain. The last ein bain that we're going to learn today is ein bain sfarim. There's no difference between a sefer Torah, the tefillin umezuzot. Besides, there's one big difference. So meaning like they both have to, all the above have to be written by a sofer. They have to be written properly on parchment, lishma. And there are a lot of rules that are very similar. So ein bain, there's no difference. The big difference is if you can write it in different languages. Can you write your tefillin in English? Inside your tefillin, it says Shema Yisrael. Can you write the Shema Yisrael in English? And the answer is Shesfarim b'chol lashon. You can write the tefillin, the Torah, in whatever language you want, according to the Tanna Kama. So you can then open up the Torah on Shabbat and read Hashem spoke to Avraham in English. Utfilin umezuzot eino nichtavot ela ashurit. The only language you can write the tefillin mezuzot is in ashurit, and that is the script, the beautiful script that you see in the Torah today. So the Ashurit script was something that the exiles after being in galut, in exile